So, given all that we know about the negative consequences of obesity, why do you think childhood obesity is still so prevalent among children?
Yeah, I think that there's a very big problem with childhood obesity that's been around for many, many years, probably in the last 20 to 30 years. It's really stepped up as far as being a public health problem and being recognized as such. But I see this problem as being a responsible parties include the United States government with subsidizing meats, corn, soybean industry, the No Child Left Behind Act, getting rid of physical education in the schools, and then of course the popularity of video games, which back in the 60s and 70s, we went outside to play, and now you have kids that are inside that aren't expending the calories that we're eating. So it's a problem that's been progressing over the last 20 to 30 years. And really, I think it's going to continue for quite some time before we get a handle on the solutions.
What do you think are the most influential factors contributing to childhood obesity?
I think some of the most influential factors are the fact that the environment that we live in has changed so dramatically in the last 40 years. When you think about in the 1960s, you literally only had in a population base of 100,000 people, maybe one or two McDonald's in the whole city. Now you go to any city in the United States and it's just, there's fast food places everywhere you look. I think there was a guy, I believe, I can't remember his name, but he said that you could literally walk a block and pass like 3 or 4 fast food restaurants. Back in the days, in the 1960s, it was also thought of as a fast food restaurant was more thought of as a treat. When you got a chance to go to a fast food place like McDonald's or KFC, it was like a once in a blue moon opportunity to do that. But it was interesting because my dad had always pointed out that when we did go to a fast food place, it was a treat, and this wasn't something that we were going to take part in on a weekly basis. So he always planted the seed that there was something drastically different about that food than food from scratch that was made at home.
Do you think advertisements geared toward children should be regulated? Why or why not?
I think there was a movement back here in California in the 70s to absolutely eliminate any kind of advertising to kids. I think Marion Nestle, who is in Washington D.C., has actually looked at what age is the cutoff age, and I think that's a good question. Is the cutoff age 10? Is it 8? Is it 7? Where is the cutoff age? But if you think about it logically, a child who's 6 and under probably doesn't know the difference between advertising and what's truth in advertising and what is marketing and sales. That's a whole different dilemma for kids. So I think that if we followed the European standard where they cannot advertise to kids, I think that would be a good way to go. Yeah.
What changes need to occur before children become healthier?
Well, I think the changes, that's a really good question. What kind of changes need to happen for kids to be healthier? A lot of people, and I'm one of them, probably would point the finger at parents first because parents have the most time with their children. And there are teachable moments with kids, at the family table. You eat together as a family. But it goes further than that. When the kids go to school, the school lunch quality is probably in question. I know the United States government right now is looking at the farm to table program and providing more fruits and vegetables to the kids for their lunches. But I really do think it starts at home with parents first. And I think that's where we need to start.
What do you think is the solution or solutions to gaining control of childhood obesity?
Well, I think some of the solutions to childhood obesity, this is a very complex problem, and in order to solve it, we have to address it on many different levels. We had talked about advertising and really limiting advertising to kids. That's one thing. I think we have to get better quality meals in the schools. That's another. Good quality education, have great physical education teachers, K through 12. Same thing with physical education and health together. Both those disciplines work hand in hand. The other thing is I think as a government, we need to make fruits and vegetables if we can, make them more accessible, make them more available, and make them more affordable. To me, it's like, I always have to ask myself the question, why is it in our nation that we subsidize the worst foods for us and the best foods for us are the most expensive? People that don't have a lot of money, and we're talking about there's a lot of poor people in the United States, not only Latinos, but also whites that can't afford to eat a decent meal because fruits and vegetables are too pricey. And of course, you have the cheaper options that are just all over the place in our toxic environment.
What can be changed in elementary schools to help with this epidemic reversal?
Changes in elementary schools to help the obesity epidemic really need to start with the food that they are providing and make sure that the quality of food is healthier. I know that that sounds like it's too generic of an answer, but we really need to make sure that the foods that they're receiving are high quality. Giving them recess, and there's also been some research in recent years about having recess before lunch, because kids, when they do eat, they generally tend to throw all their healthy food in the basket and throw their meal away to get outside and play, right? Well, you only have 20 minutes. Well, research has shown that if you do the recess before lunch, the kids actually will come in and rest and actually eat the healthy meal and then not have the behavioral problems in that next class before schools, before they return to their classes, as they return to their classes.
And lastly, what are the political motivations for ending childhood obesity?
This is a really costly problem. I mean, it's something that when you look at heart disease, you look at cancer, you look at diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, which was originally an adult disease, now has increased tenfold amongst kids in the last 10 to 15 years. This is really an expensive problem, and it might seem like spending a little bit of prevention money on the forefront right now to prevent something in the long run is really the way to go, and it truly is. We really need to look at subsidizing fruits and vegetables, making fruits and vegetables accessible and affordable for everybody. And I do believe in supporting your farmer, your local farmer, so we're not having to truck foods in from thousands of miles away to a community where you can support your local farmer here.
Especially right now in the quarter, I have a lot going on. So
Okay.
Getting ready to graduate, so
Do you normally go to a lot of the farmers market?
here I haven't really been able to go to the one down here in Slow just because.
Is that the one? Is that as big as the one